Hey everyone, and welcome. So, you're a Ford owner, and you've been hit with that dreaded error code? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to crack the case of the P0495 code and turn that confusing check engine light into a super clear plan of attack. Let's dive right in.
Ugh, we've all been there, right? You're just cruising along, minding your own business, and bam, that little orange light pops up on your dash. It's the check engine light. Your scanner gives you this cryptic code, P0495. It's super frustrating, I get it. But honestly, don't sweat it. We're about to make this whole thing make sense.
So, what is your car actually trying to tell you with this code? Well, P0495 basically just means fan speed high. Your car's brain, the main computer, is getting a signal that the engine's cooling fan is spinning way faster than it should be. You can kind of think of it like the fan decided to run a full-on sprint when it was only supposed to be jogging. The real mystery, though, is why. To get to the bottom of that, we have to do a little bit of detective work. So we're going to line up the usual suspects that are typically behind this specific error code. And you know what? There are really only four main culprits we need to investigate. And here they are, our four suspects. We're going to start with the simplest thing first, a physical problem called mechanical binding. After that, we'll take a close look at the sensor itself, because it could be damaged or maybe it's just not calibrated right. And last but not least, we're going to check the lines of communication, the wiring. So let's get to our checklist and question these suspects one by one. All right, it is time to put on our diagnostic hats. We're going to walk through this step-by-step checklist and systematically figure out what the root of the problem is. This is exactly how we take a confusing code and turn it into a concrete solution. Okay, our first suspect is usually the most straightforward one to check, mechanical binding. All this means is that something is physically blocking the fan, getting in its way. When that fan struggles to spin properly, it can send some really weird signals to the sensor, and that's what triggers the code. So, here's what you're going to do. First, and this is super important, make sure that engine is 100% off. Then, get in there and give the fan a spin with your hand. Does it move nice and smooth? If you feel any stiffness or it feels rough or it's just plain stuck, well, you've probably found your problem. Take a good look around for any debris or parts that are out of place and clear them out. Now, if that fan spins freely, no problem, then we move on to our next suspect, the fan speed sensor, or FSS. This little guy is our key witness in this whole investigation, and if our witness is unreliable, well, the whole case just falls apart. Let's think of the FSS as our informant. Its one and only job is to tell the main computer how fast the fan is spinning. If the sensor itself is broken, it's going to be feeding bad intel up the chain, and that's what triggers the P0495 code. The fix here is pretty direct. You gotta test the sensor. If it fails the test, there's no repairing it, you just have to replace it. Okay, so what if the sensor isn't actually broken, but we're still getting that error code? Well, that brings us to our third suspect, which is a little more subtle. Incorrect calibration. This means our informant is perfectly healthy, but, well, their measurements are all wrong. This is kind of like having a thermometer that always reads 5 degrees too hot. The fan speed sensor is working, technically, but its baseline is off. That causes it to report a high speed even when the fan is just doing its thing normally. So you'll need to check its calibration against the official specs from the manufacturer, and if the numbers don't line up, you gotta adjust it. So we've checked the fan, we've tested the sensor, and we verified the calibration. If you're still stuck, there is only one suspect left in our lineup, the wiring. This is the communication highway, and if there's a problem on the road, the message gets lost or totally scrambled. Think of this last step as checking the phone line between our informant sensor and headquarters. You need to carefully trace all the wires that lead from the fan speed sensor. Look for anything that seems off, frayed wires, rusty or corroded connectors, any signs of damage at all. If you find a bad spot, that's your guy. Replace that section and the communication should be back to normal. And there you have it. After a thorough investigation, we are ready to nab our culprit. By following these steps, you will have pinpointed the exact reason your car is throwing a P0495 code. This little table here is a perfect recap of our whole diagnostic process. It's so simple, right? For every potential cause, there's a direct, clear solution. If the fan is binding, you free it up. If the sensor's toast, you replace it. If the calibration is wonky, you adjust it. And if the wiring's bad, you fix it. It's a logical process that leads you straight to the fix. And honestly, that is the key takeaway here. This stuff isn't about just guessing and throwing parts at a problem. It's all about having a clear step-by-step method. Following the right process and using the right parts, that's what makes the difference between a really frustrating afternoon and a job well done.
See? That check engine light doesn't have to be some big, scary mystery. When you're armed with a simple checklist and a little know-how, you become the detective. You just cracked the P0495 case. So the only question now is, what mystery are you going to solve next?